Let's talk about how banks screw you, and I want to talk particularly about hidden fees in banking. And here's a list you would need to be aware of. First, you have account maintenance fee. So when you have an account, when you have a checking account or a savings account, you have an account maintenance fee. And so similar to service fees, account maintenance fees are one of the most common expenses charged by banks. And while most banks don't necessarily go into great detail to specify where these fees go, they generally go towards funding the human and material cost needed to maintain your account. So if you want to avoid this, you probably want to go for an online bank account. Okay. So when you think about the account maintenance fees, those fees are usually automatically withdrawn from your account every single month. So it's worth noting that this fee is totally avoidable, and you can get a checking account with some payment service providers that allow cardholders to get rid of the expense fully by meeting a few requirements. And so, for instance, you can maintain a minimum balance or linking your checking account. So this is a great thing to think about. And so they charge those fees. You can choose a checking or savings account with no monthly fees from the start. And if you have a neobank, a fintech bank, or even a credit union, by the way, you also have a out of network ATM fee. So ATM fees from both your bank and the ATM operator can add up when you withdraw cash often. And the big brick and mortar banks charge customers on average $2.50 for using a non-network ATM. And so use only ATMs in your bank's network, which can usually be found on their website. So I'm talking here about, in terms of big brick and mortar banks, I'm talking about Chase, Wells Fargo, Citi, Bank of America, among others. Then you also have the mid-tier brick and mortar banks. You have Truist, you have PNC, you have a U.S. Bank, you have Regions, and you have Fifth Third Bank. Okay, so if you are in a rush and unable to find an in-network ATM, take out a larger dollar amount so that the fee is only a one-time charge, or try to get cash back by using your debit card at the cash register of your next purchase. So this is a great possibility for you, so that you can actually save a lot on those fees. This is important. Some banks may offer you a refund for out-of-network ATM providers charges. For example, Synchrony Bank refunds ATM fees in the U.S. up to $5 per statement cycle. Still, you should be worried how much you withdraw from an ATM, because the fees, even with a $5 refund, can really add up. So this is an important element to think about. If you're thinking about the hidden fees the bank charges you, basically go for the minimum balance fee. So some banks in the country charge minimum balance fees, and the moment your account dips below your minimum balance, you will be charged. It could be $50, $100, not the fee though, the minimum balance. So the purpose of such charges is to give banks more access to deposits, which allows them to maintain regulatory requirements, lend more money, and profit from fees if balances are not maintained. So if you want to avoid a minimum balance fee on your account, do your homework and look for an option that caters to your financial health and needs. Okay. So in order to get the full benefits from your bank account, you might be expected to keep at least a certain amount of money. Let's say, it can go from $50 to $3,000. You also have a online access fee. So in this digital age, you would think that internet or mobile banking activities like making a wire transfer would be the norm at no additional cost, right? Unfortunately, some banks still charge their customers an online access fee for using their digital services. That said, you may want to look for alternatives like neobanks, once again, credit unions, online banks. You can also go for accounts from payment service providers that will not charge you for this common services. So this is an important element to think about. Now, these fees are often disguised as remote banking fees, so be sure to keep a lookout for that. Okay, and some banks call it online account fees. And you also have overdraft fees. So an overdraft fees is what banks charge you every time a withdrawal or your payment exceeds the available balance in your account. For example, when you spend $200 but only have $150 in your account, the bank will cover the difference for you. So and they charge you for it. In addition to covering the transaction, the bank also applies the fee to your account, resulting in an overdraft fee. So This is something you really think about, and some people call it double dipping. But hey, listen, it is what it is. If you're thinking about the hidden fees the bank charge you to screw you, you also have a card replacement fee. So losing your card will always come at a price. So if your card is stolen or lost, banks normally charge a card replacement fee to get it replaced. This covers everything from producing a new card to mailing it to you, to especially to your designated address. For those who need their card replacement rushed, some banks offer expedited shipping for an additional fee. So this is something to think about. So it's called sometimes it's called a debit credit card replacement fee. So this is actually this is just usually the case if you lost your card or it has been broken or stolen also. And so the amount you pay varies from country to country. For example, in certain countries in Europe, the fees range between $10 to 15 euros, with 10 euros to 15 euros, while in the UK they don't charge you that much. You also have early closure fee. So account closure fees are typically charged when you close your account too soon from the date of opening it. This is meant to discourage users from taking advantage of sign-up bonuses and other rewards for new customers, because the bank actually they spend a lot of cash in marketing budgets to attract new customers. Sometimes they're willing to give you like 300 euros. I mean 300 euros, $300, $500 as a sign up bonus. So after they give it this to you, and if you close your account after 3 months, the bank is losing money. So anywhere from 3 to 6 months is considered an early closure, but it still varies from bank to bank. So be sure to ask your bank what the conditions are. And even if there is no specific early closure fee on your account, closing it could still require some payments to be made in order to settle up fully with the bank. I mean, banks are businesses that they have a business to run. They have operations to actually take care of. So, you know, you gotta look at things from their point of view too. So, but hey, listen, it is what it is. They charge you. And so, and again, this charge can apply to a checking account or even savings account. So it doesn't matter the account. They just have to they look at the timing, the chronology of the closing, how early you close your account after opening it. That's what they care about before applying the fee. If you're talking about the hidden bank fees, how banks screw you, think about they charge you an inactivity fee. So if your bank account has been inactive for a long period, you will be charged an inactivity fee. Banks will either close your account after a certain period or charge monthly payments for the lack of account activity. But if there is still money left in the account, try contacting your bank representatives to reclaim the funds. So depending on your chosen bank, an account can be deemed inactive if it hadn't been used anywhere from 1 to 5 years. So, and the banks actually have internal controls to make sure that they are actually monitoring those, because banks wants account to be active so they can make money too. Remember, it's a business, right? So you want to have this sort of activity. So you could get charged a hidden bank fee known as an inactivity fee if you don't use a bank account for a long time. And doing so can attract the bank's attention. They may eventually contact you about it and could even try to close your account. Alternatively, they could charge a monthly payment for not using the account. You also have foreign transaction fees. So it's common knowledge that making transactions abroad will result in foreign transaction fees. And this fee is applied when a transaction is passed through a foreign bank or processed in a foreign currency apart from your own. So basically, if you travel to Europe, or you travel to Latin America, or you travel to Asia, and banks will charge you. I mean, typically most banks will charge about 3% on such transactions. One of the easiest way to avoid this expense when overseas is actually consider opening a multi-currency credit card or debit card, or even refrain from using foreign ATMs. I mean, that's really the easiest, because the thing is that, especially if your bank doesn't have an agreement with a foreign bank, that makes things a lot more complicated, right? So when you come back home, you realize, hey, listen, I'm paying a lot. I'm paying a lot in terms of foreign exchange. Let's say the rates, but I'm also paying a lot more when it comes to fees. So And those fees, by the way, they could add up real fast. 3% could add up real fast. So be very careful there. You also have paper statement fees. So when we talk about how banks screw you, they have paper statement fees. So arguably, this is one of the most annoying charges among account holders. And now you can avoid this easily with the prevalence of online and mobile banking. Banks have started charging paper statement fees, and since most bank statements nowadays can be retrieved online, requesting a physical copy of your statement may now cost you a few dollars. And this makes sense. I mean, basically, banks are trying to digitize a lot of stuff, and for them to actually print a paper statement, this costs them money, right? So while this may be a cheap expense among many others, it may be the best strategy will be to opt out of it, especially if you are comfortable receiving your statements digitally. Okay. You also have NSF fees. So when you try to spend more money in your account than you currently have, you'll be charged with a non-sufficient funds fee, and sometimes referred to an insufficient funds fee. This occurs when you don't have, let's say, enough money in your account to cover an entire transaction. And this is kind of different from overdraft fee, though. Those are two different things. I just want to specify. So when the bank doesn't cover you, the specific credit union or bank will reject the transaction and charge the fee. And if you happen to have written a check, it may bounce and eventually still lead to a charge to your account. So either way, you are losing money anyway. So to avoid this from happening, you want to opt for low balance alerts from your bank to notify you when your balance is running low. That this is totally possible. You just need to set it up in your account so that you know exactly how to prevent those things from happening, right? And don't set a very low amount. You want to set for like 20%. So if instead of waiting for the bank to notify you when you have $10 or whatever, you want the bank to notify you when you have less than 500 or less than 200. I mean, depending on your budget. So it's a lot easier because that gives you time to actually think about strategies to cover. I mean, you can see what cash inflows and cash outflows and see what kind of checks are outstanding, and you can really plan things accordingly. You also have a bank notary fee. So sometimes it's legally necessary to get important documents certified, right? So your local bank branch might be able to provide that certification, especially if the bank has a qualified notary, a type of lawyer on staff. There's often a small fee to pay for this service, but if you need more detailed notarial services, you have to pay a larger fee like $10 or $15. You also have incorrect information fee. So submitting incorrect information to your bank causes them more work, as they might have to spend time tracking down the correct details. And this might happen if you submit, let's say, the wrong routing number, the wrong ABA number, and in Europe, this will be the wrong IBAN when trying to make a transfer, for example. And some banks therefore charge a discrepancy fee or incorrect information fee, which might just be a few cents to as much as $50 or even $75. It really depends on the transaction. You also have to account for local and unique hidden fees. So you could also end up facing the following hidden fees, some of which might really take you by surprise. So you might have there are in some places where you have debit cards in France, for instance. So if you travel a lot, if you travel in Europe, France is one of those countries where you might face a yearly charge simply for having a debit card, something that you might expect to get for free, right? So at the lower end of the scale, a debit card could cost you about $40 to $50 per year, but one with more services could cost you several $100s annually, especially if you have, let's say, a multi-currency account. Let's say you have an account in the States, but the account actually has multi-currency thing. Like you have the account in dollars, but also in euros, for instance. You also have pretty interesting in Ireland, for instance, for those who have Irish/American bank accounts. The Irish government charges a small tax on most bank cards, including ATM cards, debit cards, credit cards, and charge cards. especially for those who are labeled overseas. So that's really an important thing to think about. If you're thinking about how banks screw you, you also have to think about excessive transaction fee. This is the fee that really you have to pay attention to. So an excess transaction fee happens when savings account holders withdraw over the federal limit, which is 6 free withdrawals and transfers per month. Note, however, that this limit is currently waived during the it was waived during the COVID sort of outbreak. Okay, and so excessive transaction fees can cost anywhere from $3 to $25 per transaction, but this can easily be avoided if you use your checking account as your everyday account for routine withdrawals like paying bills. So they actually waived that during the COVID, but they also waived it 2 or 3 years after COVID ended. So something to think about. And you also have one thing I want to say here is that you have also wire transfer fee. So this is an important element to think about. So wire transfer fees. So wire transfer fees may be a quick way to transfer money without using physical cash, but they cost you for the convenience. So for this service, banks typically charge between $16 to $35 for domestic and international transfers. So you want to use wire transfers sparingly unless it's an official transaction that requires a big amount of money. Otherwise, you can transfer funds online or through your bank's mobile app. You also have a check ordering. So when you open a checking account, your bank will give you some checks for free. However, once the initial supply runs out, you may be charged for additional checks. So it's usually $25. And you also have a stop payment fee. So a stop payment fee is what you have to pay if you order for your bank to cancel a check you have sent. Although not all banks charge this hidden bank fee, it's common for banks to charge a fee for a canceled check. So this is something to think about. So this was a rundown of the most important hidden fees to really think about. But let me give you a few pro tips here. Bottom line is, if you want to avoid such unnecessary fees, you have to think about what kind of balance do you keep in your account, right? I mean, the first method is to negotiate fees with your bank. Certain fees that you can work out include overdraft fees, account maintenance fees, and transfer fees. But once you have that, you want to make sure that you maintain a certain level of balance in your account at all times, or at the very least, will you have a notification system where the bank tells you if your account balance is low. That way, you have time to actually react and see what you have to do, maybe stop some payments or what have you. So, like with any financial products, you should shop around for the best bank account before deciding to put your money in one. So while the traditional brick and mortar banks offer physical branch locations that you can visit in person, they often come with high fees tacked onto their accounts. And avoid most of these fees by researching online bank accounts that are FDIC insured. So when it comes to a saving, look for a high yield savings accounts that promise low fees and higher than average interest rates. So in conclusion to this conversation, I'll share with you the hidden fees the bank actually charge you. So I'll give you the list, the pro tips, and now the conclusion. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.